Welcome to the introduction to the physiological biophysics and translational physiology. In this module, we will introduce you to the physiology as a subject and the details about it. This module also explains the necessity of studying physiology. It provides the relationship between physics, biophysics, molecular physiology and integrative physiology. Finally, it introduces the concept of research in translational physiology. This module is introductory part of physiological biophysics module for MSc. Today, we are going to tell you about physiological biophysics. Today's module includes translational physiology. The objectives for today's talk would be a brief description about EPG Pathshala. We would tell you the significance of physiology for biophysics and the scope of learning from physiological biophysics module. I will also tell you how to use this knowledge for incorporating to your existing knowledge, application to research and innovation, practical application and some other applications. We would explain in depth about translational physiology and give some examples for its application. In fact, EPG Pathshala is an initiative of Ministry of Human Resources and Development under the program of National Mission on Education through Information and Communication Technology, that is called ICT. It is called NME ICT. This is a program for teaching MSc students and others. There are 77 subjects at postgraduate level. This is going to be high quality curriculum based interactive contents in different subjects across all disciplines. This initiative is called EPG Pathshala and it is executed by University Grant Commission of India. Under this program, the experts produce nearly 4,000 contents covering 70 subjects. The data and the text are collected from literature which is well established. Then they carve out papers out of this subject. For example, for this module called Physiological Biophysics, we have in all 33 modules which will form one paper. Thus, EPG Pathshala is a gateway to all postgraduate courses run under University Grant Commission. Since this is an open platform, it is available to anybody at no cost. Coming to the core topic of physiology, I must emphasize the significance of physiology. To begin with, physiology is a subject of studying normal human body function or for that matter any other living organism. The study of physiology helps to understand the working mechanism of human body. It is very important to understand the body responses in order to understand the mechanism of body. What do we understand by physiology? It has many connotations. It is very important to understand them in order to understand perspective. Physiology means knowledge of nature, and that is nature of life. Thus, physiology means the knowledge of life. This is the study of function of living organisms, which may include plants, animals and humans. Human physiology is evolved as a evolution which took place to serve as a common denominator among all living animals, including plants. Therefore, it appears the physiology developed in microorganisms and plants, then it evolved to animal over the millions of years, but in human this also carries those old signatures. Physiology consists of two key components. One is molecular physiology, which means that we are talking about the physiology at molecular level, and other one is holistic physiology, where we talk about the systems of integrated physiology as a whole. The study of physiology can be divided into various subdisciplines. One of the important bases for dividing the subdisciplines is taxa based or taxonomy based, or in simple terms classification based. The subdisciplines are human physiology, animal physiology, plant physiology, microbial physiology and viral physiology. All these are taxonomy based classifications. There are other ways by which they can be subdivided, and they may be based on level of organization in the body. For example, molecular basis, it could be a molecular physiology. On cellular basis, it could be cellular physiology or cell physiology. When the basis of our study of organism is called, then it is called organismal physiology. In a similar way, when you study the systems where several organs are connected, it is called systems physiology. When all systems are integrated into one, they are called integrative physiology, and when we study the function of organisms in an ecosystem, it is called ecological physiology. Subdisciplines of physiology may also be based on the process that causes physiological variations. There are three important subdisciplines: developmental physiology, environmental physiology and evolutionary physiology. As the name suggests, these factors introduces variations in physiology. There are other associated disciplines which also causes variations, namely space physiology, when you are exposed to space, or circadian physiology, when you study the variations along the day. In the daytime, in the night time, the physiological function changes. Therefore, it is important. The space physiology is evolving in India, and in future we will be seeing lot of development in this physiology. The ultimate goal of research in physiology is based on how do we use for development of human being or benefit of human being. The applied physiology indicates the application of the knowledge of physiology to its clinical application in order to treat the disease. You may also use this knowledge of physiology to improve the health of people, thereby you can improve their performance. A good example of improving performance is sports physiology. You may also apply physiological principles to improve and maintain and monitor the health of individuals. Yoga is one of the important example where physiological principles are used to improve health in order to prevent diseases. There are certain non-human applications of knowledge of physiology which are applied to fauna and flora. You must understand that physics and basic biology forms the basis of biophysics, where you study the properties of a molecule and physical interactions between the several structures within them. You can also work out the formula and structure of a molecule which belongs to biology. Its related science is molecular biology, where you explain the behavior of a molecule and try to see the interaction between molecules in order to achieve some functional role. Now, the combination of biophysics and molecular biology forms the fundamental basis of the beginning of physiology. Therefore, the fundamental of physiology lies in biophysics and molecular biology. However, physiology goes beyond in order to achieve the functional goals in terms of integrated physiology, which we are going to explain a little later. You must understand the physics is an integral part of biology. Biology is an integral part of physiology. Thus, on the basis of that, you can explain most of the behavior and physiological functions in human beings. From the previous discussion, it is very clear that how important it is to understand physics in order to understand the concepts of physiology. Thus, understanding the basic principles of physics and for that matter even chemistry are important to decipher the principles of physiology. Here is the example how physical principles help explain the physiological phenomenon on the basis of application of physics. On the left side of the table, physical principles are listed, and on the corresponding right side, physiological functions are listed. You must understand that these physical principles are used to explain the physiological variables and functions. Understanding basic physics thus becomes important to decipher the principle working in physiology and related functions. As I have told before, I am going to explain a bit here. For example, physical principles, namely vector and force and their laws of motion, explains the functioning of motion created by muscular forces like doing yoga exercise or running. The surface tension present pressure explains beautifully how the alveoli in the lungs are kept patent. There are several other examples where the physical principles are used to explain physiology and biophysics. Here is the slide which explains the organization of our system that a human body has. There are various organs in the body like skin, bone, muscle, brain, heart, stomach and several others. These organs are made up of specialized tissues which have a special function to perform. They also have a special linings which have a special function to perform. If you further dissect the tissue, you will find a different dedicated type of cells which have different and dedicated functions. Therefore, a particular type of cells from a particular type of tissue and a particular type of tissue from a particular type of organ, they all have a specialized function. For example, there is one organ called stomach, which has been shown here in the bottom panel. It has a special function of receiving food, fighting against bacteria if it comes along with the food, preparing the food ready for digestion and even causing propulsion by pumping. Therefore, stomach has a special function to serve as a reservoir for the food. In a similar way, various organs have different dedicated functions, which they are, when they are combined together, they form a kind of a system. One such system is called GIT or gastrointestinal system, and it is consists of a stomach and a series of other organs. It has various structures starting from mouth to stomach to the intestine and finally to anus. This performs complete function of digestion. This is also called digestive system. Later you will be studying about various other systems. Thus, there are number of systems in the body which works in unison and continuously to maintain a human body function. One another important example is cardiovascular system. The function it performs is to maintain a circulation with effective pressure and flow. This is achieved by an effective pump which pumps throughout life, which is called heart, and this pumps blood into a series of vessels which is called a vascular tree or vascular system. It sends blood to various tissues and organs and therefore supplying the nutrition and oxygen to these tissues. The returning blood also helps to take away the carbon dioxide and other metabolites which are useless for that particular tissue and organ. This is important for giving us capacity to do work, exercise and other maneuvers. This slide shows how to perform exercise. Not only the heart is required, but various other systems also participate to make work successful. The central nervous system is important to keep us informed about the activity and generates commands which we need all time during work performance. The system called autonomic nervous system provides logistic support for optimal functioning of cardiovascular system and other related systems. The respiratory system provides adequate oxygen supply. The muscles and bones are integral part for creating motion. All these systems beautifully coordinate with each other and gives you optimal performance. When all organ and systems work in harmony, the optimal performance is achieved. This could be physical exercise, thinking, doing some other behavioral task. The concept of working together of the system is called integration or integrated physiology. This is studied in and precisely under the title Integrative Physiology. In the following discussion, I am going to tell you what are the aims and purpose of physiology and what value does it have in our lives. Physiology has several applications in our lives and we are going to detail them out here. The most important application of physiology is medical physiology, where the knowledge of physiology is applied to understand illness and or behavior. Here the physiology is used to explain the symptoms, and also the basic knowledge of physiology is used to design and intervene the disease process. Therefore, physiology also forms the basis of medicine. There are other applications, namely exercise physiology, sports physiology, underwater physiology, desert physiology, defense physiology and space physiology, and there are several others. For example, in space physiology, you apply the physiological understanding in order to know what happens to the astronaut when he goes to space, and also you try to use this knowledge of physiology in order to understand what problems they might face, or in order to help develop countermeasures for the problems they are going to face in space. At other place we are going to talk about in detail. Here is the list of various topics to be explained in this module. This will be given to you in black and white for studying. In this module, I have depicted various topics which may be taught to the postgraduate students pursuing masters. These topics are divided according to the systems in human body. For example, take the cardiovascular system. Here we teach cardiac physiology, vascular physiology, cardiac output, etc. In this way, various topics and subtopics to be explained in this modules are listed. The application of knowledge in health issues is the important topic. They can be applied to exercise and its health benefit. They can be applied to improve cognitive physiology, to improve academic performance. They may be applied to sleep physiology to improve sleep. The physiology to improve your nutrition and digestion is very important. The physiology may be applied to improve your mood, and in that there are several examples from physiology. The best use of any knowledge is that it should be applied for the benefit of human development. The research in basic sciences is very important because it gives directionality and the substance for the future applied research. Translational physiology is an important initiative for making research and development useful. The findings from laboratory should be utilized in clinical scenarios. The findings from clinics should be used for exploring basic and fundamental issues. Therefore, the translational research is very useful and doable. The transfer of knowledge gained from the basic research to the new and improved methods to prevent and diagnose and to treat diseases, as well as the transfer of clinical insight into hypotheses that can be tested and validated in basic research laboratory and also in the clinical scenarios. Therefore, the translational research is bidirectional. This application can be directed from the bench to the bedside as well as from the bedside back to the bench. For example, the fundamental research on biting behavior of a mosquito may help in research on chemical mosquito repellents to be applied to the human skin. So, several research can be done in this direction. Observations made in basic sciences can translate into improved patient care, better clinical care and also better population. The ideas from the basic sciences can also improve our lives and the functionality of all structures. For example, the clinical features of the malaria may point towards research on the chemical mediators of the fever. The drug discovery involves fundamental research in deciphering the structure and function of the molecule. It can be used to induce physiological effects in vitro and vivo. The results of such research can also be used as drug to prevent the diseases. In today's time, we are surrounded by large number of structures that emit electromagnetic radiations, such as mobile phones and the mobile communication towers, and there are several sources of electromagnetic radiations present around us in hospital as well as in industry. The electromagnetic radiations affects on several systems of our body and they may harm our body systems. Effect of electromagnetic radiation on genes is being studied to see the long term effects on human being, which may be harmful. The reverse direction research may be used to find out which electromagnetic radiation is least harmful or may even be useful and can serve as a mode of communication. So, the research should be directed in this field. The study of various hormones and effect gives a wonderful opportunity to study translational research. The hormone molecules can be studied in laboratory and the same can be synthesized in the laboratory under controlled conditions. Therefore, hormone analog or hormone modulator may be designed and created which can serve as drugs. These drugs or hormones may be impregnated in implants which can serve as drug eluting implants and they can be implanted in human bodies. These can be placed in human bodies for long term release. Similarly, the knowledge about the reproduction may help in assisted reproduction and also to the facility of test tube baby. The test tube baby is a technical term which is called in vitro fertilization. What is required for pursuing translational research is important to understand. It is that moving from silos to interdisciplinary linking is important. Even as a student, you should be talking freely to the students from other disciplines. This will surely help in translational research. There is a need for finding connecting link to make translational research successful, and I am sure you can do it by talking to other experts. The physiologist and biophysicist may work in collaboration with basic scientists, technologists, engineers and other people to pursue the goal in fundamental direction. They may also work in clinical disciplines in order to move to the direction of clinical application. They may also handshake with bioinformatics and to signal processing disciplines in order to do more and useful data applications, and this same may be applied to public health research. The steps of translational research are well defined, and the goal is to take the research to the society. The steps are preclinical research data, clinical physiology data, clinical guidelines and community guidelines, and this will help us for our social responsibility. As a scientist, you should perform your fundamental duties towards science. To achieve this, you should remain part component of translational research cycle by doing in-depth research and connect the same to the next player. You should remain efficient at sub-component level. You should perform robust basic research and collect data on the same, perform in-depth preclinical research, integrate the research to the connected basic fields and integrating research to the clinical practice. This will help us to develop guidelines, etc. Therefore, by doing so, you may attain mastery at the component levels and strengthen the link that connects to the component. The translational physiology is very promising. In the current era, especially when we are positioned to interact with each other, the basic scientists, the technologists, the engineers, the bioinformatics experts, the clinicians are well placed to help each other and take the wealth of genetic and molecular information to the clinical domains. They can also be applied both for the healthy population as well as diseased populations. The scope of learning from physiological biophysics are very wide. To use this knowledge, I would suggest you that you should incorporate it to your existing knowledge. You should put it to practical application. You should apply this for innovations and thus go ahead in your endeavors. To achieve the success in translational research, one should move ahead and make a handshake between physiology and clinical sciences that requires a sound understanding of biophysics and physiological principles of health and diseases. Further reading material is available to you in these slides, and this will be very useful. Thank you very much for patient listening. Now, I am going to sum up. Physiology helps to understand the working mechanisms of human body. The knowledge of physics is important to understand physiology. The physiology consists of various subdisciplines and subsystems which have been told to you during this talk. The body systems respond in an integrated manner when challenged. For the best application of physiology, it should be translated. Therefore, you should pursue the translational research. The translational research is a bidirectional. Findings from the laboratories can be used in clinics for their better application in clinics and the vice versa. The interdisciplinary interaction is important for translational research. Even as a student, I should encourage you to be talking to freely to the students from other disciplines for understanding the potential of translational research. Therefore, it is important to understand fundamentals and apply to the for the future. I thank you very much for your viewing and patient listening. I wish you all the best in your endeavors. Thank you so much.